This video is made possible by Practical Defense Systems, the best online security training at the lowest prices. You can start your security career today online at pdsclasses.com. Check them out. Hi, I'm Joel Persinger. I'm the Gun Guy. Thank you very much for all of your support of GunGuyTV. I'm extremely grateful. Please don't stop. Now, I've got some information I'm going to give you in a second. First, let me tell you that in this video, we're going to talk about this, and shooting from the hip with a long gun. I had a lot of fun doing that, and I'll show you a little bit about that here in a second, and what I learned from kill or get killed and from actually trying to hit what I was shooting at from the hip, which you'll see in just a minute. In the meantime, let me remind you that GunGuyTV appears on all of these video places. So if you don't like YouTube, or you're concerned about YouTube being sketchy and deleting things, which they are and they do, I do encourage you to check us out on one of these other locations. And please do subscribe. You might also check out the GunGuyTV Firearms podcast. Comes out twice a month. It's an audio podcast available on your favorite podcast player. Now, before I get started with this, very quickly, I want to let you know we do have our 2A Patriot Conference. It's a virtual conference we do for the GunGuyTV crew once a month. And forgive me, I did not give you a lot of advance notice on this one. This one is with Dan O'Kelly, who's a retired supervisory special agent with the ATF. He now runs gunlearn.com, and he is actively in court battles and other things with ATF on a regular basis. He's going to be my guest for the 2A Patriot Conference for GunGuyTV crew tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And we'll be answering questions for the crew members. They'll be able to ask them live of him. They don't have to go through me. And they can also submit some questions in advance. So if you'd like to take part in that conference, make sure you sign up for GunGuyTV crew. You can go to the link in the description or go to GunGuyTVcrew.com. All right, thank you very much. Let's get to this. Okay. As you may or may not know, if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, I do like to explore interesting ways of shooting. And I've done a lot of point shooting and that kind of stuff over the years. And I actually tried learning to make it better, if I possibly could, by using lasers. And so I'm a big fan of lasers when it comes to oddball shooting positions. And that's essentially what I've used them for more than anything else. Now, in addition, I happen to like them because I'm getting old and I can't see the sights on my pistol as well as I used to. So in a defensive situation, might be positive for that. All right, when I was looking through this book, which was one of my dad's favorite books many years ago by Rex Applegate called Kill or Get Killed, I happened to discover a shooting I don't know, a shooting approach, I guess you'd call it, or a way of shooting that was really kind of cool, and it was indicated in these pictures, so I thought I would go to the range and try it. Now, I don't have a Thompson submachine gun or whatever, but I do have my wife's trusty Ruger 9mm PC carbine. So I took that to the range and thought I would give this a shot. And what I discovered is that unless you practice this a lot, your rounds are going to go places you didn't intend them to go. The first few rounds I fired were on target from a windage perspective pretty much, but they were way high and they went up near the head of the target. So I would have probably missed my intended bad guy completely. So I found that I had to lean forward more and I really had to study the position more. And I'm going to continue working on it so that I can do it without the laser. But what I did discover is the minute I introduced the laser, I was able to get the gun on target immediately, and I was able to keep nice, tight, crisp groups by just looking at the bad guy and in my peripheral vision, seeing where the laser was and pressing the trigger. So I found that to be extremely effective, and I practiced it a lot. I went through quite a number of rounds with it, and it worked out really, really well. So it's yet another reason to have a laser. Now you may ask yourself, where and when am I ever going to use this technique of shooting from the hip with a long gun? Well, I can think of a couple of places where it might be applicable. One is you're in a very confined space and you got to keep that gun close to you. Another is you happen to be surrounded by a great crowd of violent people and you don't want to extend that rifle out too far because you're getting overwhelmed and now you're up close. Another might be you got knocked on your butt and now you have to defend yourself from your butt, and you've got to keep the gun in close so people aren't trying to take your gun from you. There's lots of, and that's where the butt spin comes in, by the way, in that whole video presentation on GunGuyTV Crew. But I think there's a number of places where this type of shooting might actually be something that would be very valuable, just like hip shooting is. And I've learned to do that over the years without the laser, but when I incorporated the laser, it really did make hip shooting much more effective and much more accurate. I think that sometimes we get hung up in the traditional ways of shooting, this perfect stance, the perfect presentation for our handgun, the perfect control of that long gun. But you know, defending yourself is a chaotic environment where perfection very seldom exists. You have to be able to engage the bad guy who's trying to hurt you from whatever position that you're in. And so I think exploring these kinds of oddball shooting environment type positions is a very powerful thing to do. It's a skill that if you develop it, you will have. But if you don't develop it, you're not going to suddenly just sprout that skill the minute that you need it. You might get lucky, maybe, and make it work. But I think it's something we should develop and practice at the range. So I would encourage you to pick up a copy of this book. I'll put a link in the description. There's a lot of things in it that might be antiquated and probably are, but some of the shooting positions are very interesting. It's obvious that in military environments, they actually made these work. And so if they worked then, they might work for you and I. They're not the traditional ways of doing it. But oddly enough, sometimes the traditional ways of doing it are not the most effective when you absolutely need them. Otherwise, we would have everybody practicing traditional martial arts for decades before they could make them functional, rather than taking Krav Maga or Marine Corps martial arts or something along those lines that are very practical very quickly and get you functional really fast. So I think to a degree, sometimes these things are worth exploring. I'm exploring them because I want to explore them for me, but I also wanted to share them with you. So I can tell you that point shooting from the hip, or hip shooting, does work, and it's very easy to do. The trick is getting the position right and understanding the gun that you're using and having a feel for it, for lack of a better word, so that whatever your eyes are focused on, that's where the round is going to go, and you're going to hit your intended bad guy. That's going to take practice, but to be honest with you, it's a lot of fun to practice, and it's more fun to practice that than it is to just stand there at the range and, you know, shoot in the traditional way. So if you have an opportunity to try the hip shooting thing, I just urge you to be super safe with it and give it a try. And if you want to see how the position works, I put the photo from the couple of photos from the book on the video so you can back it up and look at it again. Or you can pick up the book. I'll put a link in the description for it. It is actually a terrific book. It was one of my dad's favorite books. Of course, he was a Korean War era veteran, and so maybe that's why. It's called Kill or Get Killed by Colonel Rex Applegate. And I can tell you that Colonel Applegate is one of those guys in the past who really knew what he was talking about. And so he'd be a great guy to learn from. Anyway, there you are. Thank you very much. Hip shooting with a long gun. Now you can comment and tell me I'm nuts and I don't know what I'm talking about. You might very well be right. But give it a try. Just see what it comes out to be for you. I would just urge you to be super safe when you do it. Have a great week, wherever you go, whatever you do. Be safe.